Okay, let's make sure I look like an adult. I think I do. Okay. Forum, how you doing? How you be? Top to the AB. I swear, I have to be the only person that changes his entire hairstyle like 4 minutes before I get ready to stream. Because like originally I was trying to let this grow into something, but then it turned into nothing and it looked awful. So I was like, okay, I'll just even it up. But I didn't even get a chance to finish it because like all the lining stuff that I had bought prior to COVID, it was nowhere to be found. I think somebody threw it in the trash when they came over to visit. So now I was trying to do it by mirror, but it doesn't look bad. It looks doable. Whew, okay. it's been a long day. Okay. How you doing? How you be? Top to the AB, and I hope you guys had a good day at work. I hope everything is going well with you guys. If not, then you can listen to the smooth stylings of my voice while I troubleshoot some issues and try to help a bunch of people. So so without further ado, I think my chat looks good, video looks good. I'm pretty sure I can see the feeds. Let's do a quick test here, just making sure that comes up. Okay, cool. So yeah, looks like everything is good. So we'll see how everything works here. I apologize. I keep streaming to different locations to see which one is best. And originally I put it in like just chatting and science and technology and stuff like that. But for some of them, they're in areas where my type of content would not really be ideal. You know, like if if it's in the same category with people in bathing suits doing pool parties, obviously I would rather see that. I would rather see that than watch myself. So it's one of those kind of situations, you know. So this is more of a helping platform. So because of that, or a learning platform. So because of that, it's kind of hard for me to try to figure out exactly where I fit in, you know. But I'll eventually figure it out. But hope everybody had a good day, and let's get to work. Let's hope some people. Alrighty, so I just saw this one here. I thought this one would be kind of cool, so we'll see how this works. Okay, sweating and everything. Sorry, I'm not actually sweating. It's just shower. Alrighty, so this is gonna come from Lily, Lily Smith Music, and Lily writes, should he repair my computer under the price I already paid? I had my MacBook repaired and just got it back. Some chip wasn't allowing the Mac to charge or something. I don't know, but it all works fine now. However, only one side of my keyboard lights up now, and the fan makes a horrible screeching noise and buzzes as well. It's not like I can even put up with it, considering I use my laptop for recording music, and the screeching would just ruin all my recordings. I know the feeling. All it takes is like, I can even run an air conditioner and it will mess up the audio, and I don't feel like going back in post and changing it. I get the feeling. I already paid him to fix it, but now I have it back with different problems than I gave it to him with. Am I justified in thinking he should repair this under the price I already paid, since these problems weren't here before? I can't afford another repair as it was so expensive and I'm broke. I have horrible anxiety over stuff like this and constantly doubt myself, so I just need some reassurance from the community that I'm not being a bad or cheap customer. Thanks. And this is from Lily. So let's think about this, because the issue she's having is kind of more so a moral dilemma, not necessarily a physical one. So if you did not have these issues before and you give it to somebody to fix a particular issue, they fix that particular issue, but it has caused new issues, it is okay to ask. Okay, I don't think anyone would technically be offended if you were to just ask. Now, Here's the thing. Just asking, the very act of asking for her, she may be battling with that anxiety. So I'm not exactly sure if that may be a positive step for her, because the anxiety may stop her. So with this kind of a situation, if she has like a boyfriend, I will try to see maybe if you can try to get him to just ask him to see. Now, of course, if he says, no, I fixed the issue, I didn't cause any other problems, I checked it, you checked it before I left, that's a totally different ballgame, right? Because generally, when you take it to a repair place and they fix the issue, they have you turn it on and check it while you're there. That way you can see if there's any problems. So if she checked it when she was there before she left, then she can't really come back and say, hey, this, and this is wrong. She should have checked it when she got it back. So that's a little iffy. Now, of course, if she was the one who went and got it back, then anxiety may have kicked in and she may have not wanted to say anything. But those issues that she's talking about, the fan making screeching noises and the buzzing, as well as the keyboard lights not coming up, that should have shown itself the moment she got it back. So it's kind of an iffy one. It's okay in this kind of a situation. I would say it's okay to ask. If your anxiety gets the best of you, I would say get a friend or a boyfriend to ask for you. But if he says no, there's not a whole lot more you can do, because typically whenever you take, and it doesn't matter what it is or what company it is, usually when you take a computer to get repaired and they repair it, they let you check the computer while you're there. And this is just, it's normal sales procedure. And there may be some companies that don't do that, but typically you want to check that, especially if it's a laptop, you want to check it. And because her issues are super apparent, as soon as she turned that guy on, she would have noticed that the lights weren't working. Even if the fan didn't spin up when she first powered it on, she would have at least noticed the lights on the keyboard. So it just kind of doesn't make sense. It sounds more like she didn't test it when they gave it back to her. She just took it and left. So the burden would actually be on her. She should have checked it as soon as she got it, unfortunately. But it does not hurt to ask without being offensive, and just get somebody to ask for you. So it's one of those kind of iffy situations, Now, if she would have checked it right then and there and then said, hey, I didn't have these problems before with only half my keyboard showing, obviously they'll take it back, they'll work it, they'll look at it. That's when you're supposed to do that, letting them know if there's any new issues that crop up. But sometimes they may even tell you, like, hey, go ahead and give it a couple days, let me know what you think, if they're trying to earn your business. So it really kind of depends on the place, but it doesn't hurt to ask. So that's what I would do in this kind of a situation. I would at least ask. If they say no, then there's not a whole lot more you can do. Alrighty, Lily, I hope that helps. Very interesting situation there. It's kind of more of a human conundrum than it is a technical one. Alrighty, so this is from Hawkshire. Hawkshire writes, Ethernet ports not being detected from the PCIe card. I have a PCIe Ethernet card that I'm taking to a new computer. The card works perfectly fine on the old computer, but on the new computer, which has a Ryzen processor, it's detected as something completely different and doesn't recognize anything plugged into it. The only real difference between the two computers is that the old one is Intel and the new one is Ryzen. I don't know for sure though, and experimenting by buying new stuff will get expensive, so I want to get confirmation that I'm moving in the correct direction. Thanks. What direction are you moving in? So you're just trying to take a PCIe Ethernet card from one computer to the other. Okay, and the Ryzen processor or the Ryzen board or the motherboard specifically doesn't detect the new card. Okay, well, have you tried downloading the drivers for it or checking for drivers? I understand that they should be applied with Windows Update, but it's a possibility that the drivers for that card may not work or having issues with that particular processor. Is the Ryzen on Windows 11 and your Intel is on Windows 10? Maybe that may be a difference. I would try to see if there's a driver for that PCIe card before I do anything. And also, I would try a different slot before I do anything as well. And if it's seeing it as something else, that's kind of interesting. It just means that it may have an incorrect driver for it. So yeah, in this particular situation, I would try to go online to see if I can find a driver that would be compatible with it for whatever version the Ryzen is on. It's a possibility that the Ryzen really is on Windows 11 and the Intel was on Windows 10. Therefore, the issue is not necessarily the motherboard and the processor, but it's actually the drive. Now, here's the thing. I would also want to be kind of curious to see if your Ethernet in general works. So there's an Ethernet port on the motherboard. I'd plug that guy in and see if that guy works, because you're saying that you've moved it to a new computer, keyword being new. That means that you more than likely have a new motherboard as well, which means that motherboard has an Ethernet cable. So I would plug in the Ethernet cable and see if that works. If that works, then you probably more than likely don't really have a motherboard issue. You just may have an incompatibility with Windows 11 on that PCIe card. So I would try to look into, maybe try to find a compatible driver or things of that nature. Worst case scenario though, just hook up through the motherboard. You know, it's a new motherboard, so 9 times out of 10 the Ethernet cable is going to work. I'd say 9.9 times out of 10. It's kind of rare that you would get a motherboard that's brand new and the Ethernet port does not work, but it can happen. Alrighty, Hawkshire. Okay. Man, I think the reason why I look like I sweat so much is because of the light. I'm blaming it on like 90 different things. Okay, it's the light. It's the fact that I just took a shower. It's always something different. But yeah, hopefully I'll get a little bit better at this whole light situation. Okay, let's go ahead and get to the other one here. All right, I gotta get ready for this. Make sure I am in focus. I think I am. Alrighty, so this is from No Lake 6756. No Lake writes, Jet Engine GPU. I have a 1066G. It can handle most games comfortably. I run into an issue where my GPU will randomly stop displaying and start sounding like a jet engine. My monitor will lose signal and turn off. I have the latest driver. Does anyone know what's going on? Yes, your card's dying. I have 100 1066 gig cards, and yeah, when your monitor starts to go in and out and your card starts to spin up to max, it's a possibility that it may be dying. Now, of course, you can also say that it's a possibility that it's a driver issue, so I won't disregard that. But typically, whenever I've run into this situation, and I have a more interesting situation, because the majority of my minor cards that I had were 1066 gigs. Every time that I've had that situation happen where the cards are not showing display, or they are working just fine, and then it randomly stops showing a display, or it starts to spin up to max. It's spinning up to max because the driver is not compatible with Windows, and the Windows doesn't see the card properly. So because it doesn't see the card properly, it just spins it up to the max because it's getting power from the power supply, and it's no longer regulated by the motherboard. So because of that, it doesn't know what that device is, and that typically is a issue with the card itself, that the card may be going out. Now, in this kind of a situation, you can also say maybe it could be cables and something like that. So it's not like I'm going to discount that it's a possibility that it could be something else like cable or motherboard. But in this particular situation, more than likely when I see this particular issue and I see it turning into a jet engine and getting really, really loud, that can mean that it's going to be an issue with the graphics card. Now, it may not be the graphics card altogether. It may just be bad fans. But the fact that it's spinning up to max and not showing a picture generally means that it's overheating or a fan issue. Either way, graphics card. Okay, I'm just checking because the messages come in from different places because I keep saying different stuff automatically, and I'm just making sure that nobody's asking a question. Alrighty, Mr. Lake, I hope that helps. Alrighty, let's go ahead and. Oop, I don't want to go too far down. Okay, cool. Alright, let's get this one ready to go. Gotta give me a second to get ready. Oh, let me do something real quick. I'm so sorry. I forgot to copy tags. Usually, I remember, but this time I did not. So let me go ahead and do this real quick here. Make sure I'm not doing anything that can be seen by people. I don't think so. Okay, cool. Just making sure, just trying to play it safe. Your channel. Alright, just give me one quick second here and we will continue. Manage. 1 second here. Live. This one. Edit. Well, I don't know why this is so complicated to do. I just want to do one quick thing and just grab tags. I don't know why I have to fight every time I want to grab tags. I don't know why it's so difficult. And it doesn't do it automatically. And it should, but whatever. Okay, so sorry about that. So this is going to be from Dark Sonic 222. Dark Sonic writes, a worry about my PC temps. Alrighty. I'm trying to get ready. This is gonna be a long one. Hey everyone. So my specs are as follows. This is a build from CyberPower that I have some concern with. A CyberPower LAN cooled PC008 black mid tower gaming chassis. For those of you at home, that's just like a standard chassis. Standard mid ATX chassis. CPU Intel Core i9-12900K 16 core. For those of you at home, that is a very powerful processor. And then of course it has UHD graphics and it's overclock, of course, overclock compatible, and built-in USB. Okay, now the fan that he's using, his cooler is a MSI Core Liquid 360R 360 millimeter rad RGB cooler, RGB liquid cooler, and it's overclock compatible, of course, because it's 360 millimeter, which means that it's actually the length of 3 fans. Memory, he has 32 gigs of DDR5. His motherboard is a Z690 Karman Wi-Fi DDR5, and his video is a RTX 3080 Ti with 12 gigs of RAM. And let's go ahead and scroll down here and see what he is saying about his heat. Make sure everything is good. Okay, cool. Okay. Okay, I didn't miss anything. Okay. Actually, I don't even think I have to scroll down. Oh, I don't. Okay, cool. So I'm getting about 40 to 50 degrees idle, sometimes hitting 60. When gaming, it can be mostly between 60 to 90 with odd spikes. I'm not sure if it's the hot weather in the UK or if my build is somehow not built properly, or if the specs just run hot. I'm not the most tech savvy person, but to be honest, I'm terrified of going into the PCs and modding things due to a bad or past experience trying to rebuild an old PC. Is this normal? No. I did contact CyberPower, who said due to the heat waves and everything and the parts, they do run hot. It's possible they do run hot, but for something that has a 360 millimeter radiator, I don't care what it is, to run idle at 40 to 50 degrees, that's super, super high. You know, at idle, you know, or even hitting 60 at idle, like, whew, you know, unless you live on the surface of the sun, that's pretty hot. For idle with that strong of a cooler. That makes me think that something may be wrong. So either, you know, there may not be enough thermal paste on the processor, which is causing it to get hotter than it should, so it's not actually making a correct bond with the actual CPU cooler. That's a possibility. Or the fans are maybe direction the wrong way, so they're maybe pulling or pulling air into the chassis instead of pushing air out of the chassis. So it may be one of those kind of situations, or maybe the fans aren't spinning up on the radiator. That's probably the first thing I would think of. I would think the fans that are on the radiator are not spinning up. So the water that is getting pushed through the pump is not actually being cooled. So it stays at the constant temperature and it gets hot a lot easier. So that's what it sounds like. It sounds like your fans that are on your radiator, either like for example, in this particular case here, if I had to guess, I would say 2 of the 3 aren't good, or 2 of the 3 aren't on. Something along those situations, maybe only 1 is working, so because of that, it's not able to cool properly, therefore you don't get the correct temps. Now 12900K does, I mean, it's a hot processor. I don't have one, but I've heard stories, and I know that it's, you know, a relatively hot processor, but still, getting at 60 idle is hot. I mean, that's hot, you know, and I'm in Texas, and I'm telling you, that's hot. And it's hot, I mean, that's super hot. You know, it's just something that you never would see. Generally, you know, idle, it should be somewhere around 30, you know, 30, 40. I'm not crazy about 40, especially with a 360 millimeter radiator. I really think you should be in the 30s to 40s in this particular situation with a max at like 60. For you to have that at idle, that's something to be concerned of. So yeah, with CyberPower there, you know, if it's still under warranty, if it's still under warranty, I'd send it back, me personally, and just tell them that you know you have this particular issue. Now, the fact that they're saying, you know, oh, it's hot, yeah, it's hot, but the fact that it's getting to 90 degrees Celsius is a problem. Okay, I don't care how hot it's getting outside. For it to get to 90 degrees on a 360 millimeter rad that's supposed to be working properly, that's a little iffy. You know, I would check and make sure that your pump is working. You know, generally you can hear it if your pump isn't working. So you may just literally have a problem with your radiator, but you don't really want to go in and check it, you know, because of the issues that you currently experience in previous troubleshoots. So in this particular situation, if you're still under warranty because you called them, so more than likely you are under warranty, just return it. Just return it and have them send you a new one. I mean, that's the best way to do it, because 9 times out of 10, they may send you a new one and it may fix the issue. And it's probably a little bit easier and less of a hassle for you to try to troubleshoot this when you're uncomfortable to do so. So if you're under warranty for this particular issue, go ahead and just send it back. You'll be a little bit happier that way. Alrighty, Mr. Sonic. Let's go ahead and go to the next one here. I can't say Sonic without getting happy. I don't know. I think it just olds back to my childhood. Every time I think of like Sonic, I'm like, yeah, I remember Spin Dash and Tails and jumping and flying. And okay, cool. Moving on. This is from Carmela 249. Carmela writes, Cloud wants to charge me money. Do I need the subscription? So Cloud, I'm not sure which one, but I'm gonna suggest iCloud. Imagine tells me to make a backup copy of my phone, and this is if I buy a new phone, so I can transfer all data to the new phone. That's very Samsung and or Apple of them, but it wants me to pay. I have another free app to transfer photos. So do I need to pay this app? What does this app transfer anyway? Well, I'm not sure which app you're referring to, but we can go into either one of them. So iCloud, not only does it actually hold your backups, it can also hold your documents, your downloads, your photos, music, things of that nature. So typically a lot of people kind of do it like a Spotify thing, so it doesn't really hold music as much as it used to, but it basically holds all of your settings of your phone in iCloud. So when you transfer it to a new device, it'll just transfer it over. Typically, if they're trying to make you pay, then that means that you're very close to the amount of storage space that is required, or you're close to the maximum storage space that comes with the free account. Therefore, you can upgrade for $3.99 a year or something like that to have a little bit more storage. So that's typically what that means. So the best way to fix that, if you don't want to pay and you still want to use them, is to delete some stuff. So you may have a little bit too much there, and because of that, it can't actually do a download or a backup properly because you just have too many files and things of that nature. So you can go in and clean it up and just stay below the minimum requirement before it starts prompting you to upgrade. Same thing goes with Samsung as well. They try to do the exact same thing, and kind of want you to go to like the Google Cloud or whatever in order to transfer all of your stuff to the new phone. So either one, they're just doing that because you're getting close to the maximum. So that's how you would handle that situation. You would just, you would just, in this particular situation, what was I about to say? And my mind just straight up went blank. It wants you to pay you would just remove files on the cloud drives and stay below the minimum requirement for the free service. That's all you would do in this situation. Now, if you have another service, you can try to use that other service, but this is specifically for holding your backups and your files and things of that nature for that particular phone. So if it's a Samsung phone, it's the Samsung Cloud. If it's an iPhone, it's the iCloud. So that's what it's referring to. So typically, no, you can't really back it up in that way to another cloud manufacturer. And I'm just saying it that way because to make it a little bit more understanding, but really it's like a cloud server. But you can't really move that and back it up. Now you could back it up, and then restore it, or just have somebody at the site restore it, so you don't actually go and utilize any of your download or any of your cloud storage. You can do it that way. So I mean, there's plenty of different ways to do it, so I wouldn't be stressed about it. You don't have to pay for it if you don't want to, and you could just either remove files or have somebody at the place when you get the new phone do it. So nothing to worry about. I think you're fine. Alrighty, and check the clock. Alrighty. Clean my face up. If I start to get ashy mid-sentence, then you know it's because I was in the shower, right? Okay, because my skin will start to break out as soon as I get out of the shower because it dries. I try to put some lotion on it, but we'll see what happens. So I'm just apologizing before they be like, oh my God, he looks so ashy right about now. I apologize. I tried. Alrighty, so this is from Xandor. Oh my God, I actually pronounced that properly without even messing up. Xandor the 13th. Every download flagged as a virus. Nothing on the internet works. Every time I try to download something, no matter what file type and even browser, I get an error message saying either the virus scan failed or virus detected. I searched all over the internet and tried every single fix there was, from turning off Windows Defender to checking the protection history to even editing registries, and everything but the problem never goes away. I really need some help with this, as I'm actually at the point of giving up. Well, don't give up, Xander. Hopefully we can try to think about this situation. So, okay, everything he downloads gets flagged as a virus, but he doesn't know where they go. Well, it appears that, you know, if it's not Windows Defender and you have Windows Defender turned off, then you have some type of antivirus software. It may not be something that you're comfortable or remember actually installing, but it most certainly is there. So in this particular situation, what I would do here is I would go to your control panel, and then it used to be called add remove programs, but you can probably put add remove programs in the start menu and it should take you there. But once you get to add remove programs, it'll show you all the programs that you currently have. Highlight the ones that you don't know what they are. Eventually you'll run into the one that is your antivirus or your malware. For this particular situation, it sounds like it may be a malware protection. Now, malware protection can run as its own, or it can be a standalone, or it can be with an antivirus software. So I would just literally copy the names of anything that you don't know what it is and Google it until you figure out which one is the antivirus and malware, because that's typically what would be removing it. If it's not Windows Defender. So if Windows Defender is off and it's still having this issue, then that's the first thing I would think of. Now, it is possible that you may have some type of an antivirus software or malicious file block on your Chrome extension. You may have an extension that is preventing you from downloading, but it shouldn't be that accurate at it, right? Because it's just looking at things that you download and then trying to block it, but it's not like it can decrypt that file unless it saw the entirety of that conversation and it was actually doing decryption. But at that point, it wouldn't be software. You would actually need some processing power to do that. So it's a possibility that it could be an extension to a smaller extent, but it's a higher probability that you have some type of antivirus that you don't know the name of that is sitting on your control panel. Now, you say you try to remove everything. What I would do in this particular situation, I move all my stuff to like my drives. If I've already gone to my control panel and I have no idea what it is, reset it or roll back to before you had this issue. And see if that works. I mean, obviously it should, because I mean, it seems like it's more so something that you would download, because no software is gonna voluntarily protect you unless you pay them, or it's a free software that you got when you bought the computer. I'm about to say property. He's about to go into real estate real quick. so yeah, in that particular situation, that's what I would do. Actually, you know what? That's not the worst idea in the world. Kind of do like tech support issues and also real estate support issues. Even though I don't really have a ton of understanding with real estate, I can give some advice. Advice is free, right? But yeah. So back to this particular issue here, I really need some help with this, as I'm actually at the point of giving up. So yeah, I would say, you know, go to your control panel and highlight anything that you don't know what the name of it is, and then look those guys up until you find the right antivirus. But basically, it's going to be some type of an antivirus with a malware feature on it that is blocking your files and turning them into, or showing them as viruses. Typically, it'll kind of tell you, it would let you know something. The fact that it's just straight blocking them, it sounds more like Windows Defender, but you know, if you've already turned it off, then I would suggest going to control panel. Alrighty, Xander. Oh man, I really wish I knew more about the situation, but I'm afraid I don't like clicking on comments, because when you start clicking on comments, it feels like you're piggybacking off of somebody else's idea, and I don't want to do that. I would rather give my opinion, right or wrong, and then just take it from there. So Xander, I wish I had more info, bro. Alrighty. Uncle Harry. This is from Uncle Harry 7. Uncle Harry writes, no monitor signal apart from one specific cord. TLDR. Restarted my computer and now my monitor only works with one specific HDMI cable, not the cord it was literally just using or any others. Hey guys, this evening all of a sudden I had a display problem on my PC. I restarted my computer because it was suspiciously holding up doing simple stuff like browsing, even without anything intensive running, almost as if I was running a virus scan. But Task Manager showed no usage of anything major. I did a quick virus scan, after which showed nothing, then restarted. After restarting, there was no signal to my monitor. It managed to get into Windows so I could hear my buddy through Discord, so operating system still working squeaky clean. Also, I was using a manufacturer supplied display cable since I got the monitor. Tested display port with and without graphics card in. Interesting. Multiple different cords and multiple ports on both cards. Both cards? He had more than one card? He said tested display port with and without graphics card in. Multiple different cords and multiple ports on both cards, and monitor is still not available. I do not have another device to test the monitor on for display port. Tested HDMI with about 5 cables and only one of them gives picture, but the others do work as I tested them with a laptop on the same monitor. The monitor does know these cords are in as it turns on, but turns back on to standby 10 seconds later. The only software driver change to my computer within the last 24 hours have been Windows updates and various application updates at that same time. I gotta get some sleep now, as this has literally happened right before bed, so I might not be able to answer any questions about my conundrum for a bit. Cheers in advance, fellas. And he lists his specs here. He has a Gigabyte Z370 motherboard with a Intel CPU, 8700K, good processor. 1070 Ti, okay, old school, I like it. I love 1070 Ti's. This is like one of my, I used to only buy the 70 series in Ti form all the way back to the 570, not the 580, because I thought the 570 kind of gave you everything that the 580 would give you, except, you know, not 580 potential. But I always did the 570, I always did the 70 series. I was always into that. I was kind of like that middle child. But anyway, AVGA 1070 Ti, 32 gigs of RAM, and he has a Samsung A60 Evo, M.2, okay. He also has an M.2 NVMe 500 gigabyte storage, and then he has a Samsung 970 Pro 2 terabyte HD. He got some good stuff. And then he has a Western Digital Caviar Black hard drive. And then he says the monitor is a Samsung CRG90 operating system, Windows 10 64-bit. Okay, there's a lot to talk about. Okay, his processor is an Intel processor. He said that he tested it with and without graphics card in, and he still had the issue. That's interesting. The fact, now he's saying, but he also mentions that he tried multiple graphics cards, but then he again said that he only had one graphics card. So it's kind of hard to understand exactly what he's referring to, but we can play it a couple different ways. So let's think about this. So if he took out his graphics card and plugged it into his motherboard and he's still having the issue, then it's a possibility that one of the updates that he had may have caused an issue. So I would try to uninstall some of those updates that he got installed whenever he rebooted his PC. That is a possibility. You know, I would also check to see the updates that he installed. I would Google them to see if they've had any side effects, as in your graphics not working. You know, and the fact that it only works with one cable, you never mention what resolution that cable is at. So for example, if it only works with this cable because it's an older HDMI cable and it only supports 720p, then it's a possibility that there may be an issue with your graphics card. Now, I believe you said you tried it with no graphics card and you still had the issue, but you never, you know, because you didn't mention that you tried it with a different graphics card, or if you tried with the integrated graphics, I'll still roll with that. It sounds like you may have a graphics card issue, or your graphics card may have started to malfunction upon reboot. So, you know, it's a hard one to say, but you also never mentioned whether or not you took your graphics card and plugged it into a different slot either. So the first way I would play this particular situation is, 1, try it with integrated graphics if you haven't. 2, put your graphics card into a different slot. So if it's in the main slot, or the first one that you can see that's closest to the processor, then take it one step down and put it in a different slot and see if that fixes your issue. If that does not fix your issue, then it's a possibility you may be looking at an issue with your graphics card. Well, okay, it's a possibility that you may be looking at an issue with your graphics card. However, if you test with the integrated graphics, then it's a possibility that you're looking at an issue with your motherboard or your power. You know, the fact that it's not turning off per se, it's just that the cables won't work and they won't display a picture. Doesn't sound like it's a power issue or really a motherboard issue. In that particular situation, if the integrated graphics does not work either, then it's a possibility that you just have an issue with your monitor, period. You also mentioned that you did not have a display cable to test the monitor. So in this particular situation, it actually sounds like a higher probability that it may be the monitor. So in this particular situation, if integrated graphics does not work, if regular graphics on the regular graphics card does not work, and if moving it to a different slot does not work, then you are looking at an issue with your monitor, my friend. If integrated graphics works, but the graphics card doesn't, no matter which slot you plug it into, you're looking at an issue with your graphics card. No matter what, it looks like you're more than likely looking at like more so a hardware issue than a software issue. However, I would still recommend to try to uninstall some of those updates to see if it fixes the issue. So that's how I play this particular situation. Hope that helps, bro. Mr. Harry. All right, make sure. Every time I look at these, I try to make sure I pronounce the name properly. So I'll look at the name a little bit to see, just to make sure that I can say it. It is PG friendly. But this one I can't even pronounce. Pessimism. I think he was trying to go to pessimism. Okay, well, let's go with pessimism because I think that's what he was trying to say, but he probably was already taken. So I'm going to give it to you because obviously Reddit wouldn't. So Pessimism writes, how to delete files that absolutely refuse to be deleted until one day they don't. I've had this issue all my life with all PCs and notebooks I've had with Windows. Since Windows 2000, and it remains to be fixed on Windows 10. It can be any file accessed and edited by any program and only happens for files on the desktop. Restarting, shutting down, and powering on again, nothing happens. Force deleting them via command doesn't work either. Renaming doesn't work. Moving to another folder doesn't work. Deleting doesn't work. Freezes and restarts File Explorer every time. Right now I have 2 such files sitting on the desktop for about a month. I've installed updated to Windows since then, restarted and shut down many times. Like before, countless times. I expect one day they will magically allow to delete. Well, it sounds like something is utilizing those programs as soon as you turn on the Windows or turn on your PC. So if the software that you have in those particular files is being used by any process on the computer, then it won't let you delete it. So in order to figure out whether or not it is, get the name of that particular application that's within that folder, and then go to services.msc. So basically click on your Windows logo, go to, and just from the magnifying glass, just type in services.msc and then press enter. And then from there, you should be able to see your applications. You can also visit your applications by going to the Windows logo and typing in Task Manager, and that will allow you to see your programs as well. But I would go with services.msc in this particular case and see if one of those files are being utilized, or if it's being utilized somewhere, or if it's running. It's a possibility that these programs are actually running, and you may have to turn them off by right-clicking on them and hitting disable. Alrighty, and I think that's pretty much it on that one. I don't think there's any other way around that guy. It refuses to be deleted. Yeah. If something refuses to be deleted, I don't care what it is. If it's Windows, Mac, or Linux, that means that something is using it. So something is currently utilizing that particular process, or that particular process is currently running. That's usually what that means. Alrighty, Pessimism. Got a few more here. Alrighty. Alright, yeah, I saw this one here. I was like, I'm going to answer it because it's kind of an interesting one. I just saw Cricket and I was like, okay, yes, we're talking about this. Okay, so this is from Name Not Found. Name Not Found writes, it's a conspiracy. Name Not Found. Oh, 404 Name Not Found. Okay, I'm not even getting into that. This is a really odd problem, but why there is non-stop cricket noises coming from my iPad? When I take my headphones off my ears, there is no cricket noise. It's getting faster and only heard at one side of the headphone. Well, it's a possibility that you have a cricket in your headset. No, it's a possibility. Crickets can get into some crazy stuff, but the fact that you hear cricket noises. So, there's okay. So it's only when he has his headphones in. It's getting faster and only heard at one side of the headphones. Okay, so he only hears it when he has his headphones in his ear. When he doesn't have his headphones in his ear, he doesn't hear it at all. So it sounds like you may have an issue with your headphones or the Bluetooth settings between your headphones and your iPad. Because he mentioned the iPad, there's obviously not an audio port on it. Maybe in some of the older ones, but we're going to assume that it's relatively new. So in this particular situation here, he may have an issue with his Bluetooth. So what I would do in this particular situation is I will basically power down or disable the Bluetooth settings and then reload the iPad to see if that fixes it and see if that helps with the that solution. Also, I would try to turn the volume down. It could be that you're peaking and it may sound like it's cricketing, but you're actually just peaking, so you may just be kind of too loud on it. So that's a possibility. It's also, there could be a bug. That's a possibility, and I mean by animal, not actual issue with something. And let me see if there's anything else. Oh, I would try to swap headphones too. I would try to swap headphones and see if that resolves the issue. That lets you know definitively whether or not it's the headphones. So I would start with that first. So if you, I mean, it doesn't really matter what it is, as long as they're on the exact same input. Like for example, if you have an older iPad and it really does have an audio jack, then you want to make sure what you swap it with the test also has an audio jack. You don't want to have one audio jack and one Bluetooth, because that differentiation can mess up your variables. So in this particular situation here, you definitely would just want to run the headset. Just try the headset by itself with disabling and re-enabling the Bluetooth settings, plus trying a different headset, plus disabling Bluetooth and reloading the iPad. Any of those are proper options for this particular situation, but just, you know, grab another pair of headphones that are on the same connection as the ones that you are having problems with and see if it fixes it. But more than likely, it sounds like your headphones may be dying. Alrighty, Mr. Found. Hope that helps. Let's go ahead and go to the next one here. Check my clock. Clock looks good. Okay, and we got a long one, so let me get ready. Okay. Okay. Make sure everything looks good. Everything does look good. Okay. Let me minimize this to make sure I can see people talking, just in case. Give me 1 second here, Farum. All right, there we go. This is from It's Your Boy. PC constantly freezes, making any input resume after said freeze. Wait, what? PC constantly freezes, making any input resume after said freeze. Hi, my PC has started freezing a while ago and has rendered me unable to play most, if not any, game that has any competition involved. That is awful. Those freezes occur quite frequently and has led to a lot of frustration. Here's the thing, I feel for this person because I know what would happen if I was playing a shooter game and my computer froze on me. I may break something. I've broken something before doing like raids and stuff like that, when my teammates or something get me killed, or we wipe to a boss and we were almost done. Like, oh my god, I've done some things, but not to like people, just to like hardware. So here's what I've tried and what I've noted. I have updated a lot of my drivers, if not all of them, GPU, motherboard, BIOS, audio, etc. And his issue is basically freezing often. It's particularly in, well, I guess it's not really particularly, but it freezes a lot. I have upgraded my RAM for new sticks, 2.8 to 2.16, that's good. I have changed my entire cooler for a new liquid cooler, that's excellent. I have paid a support guy $100 to tell me the only issue is probably my SSD being nearly full. I emptied and made space, didn't make a difference. It shouldn't have made a difference if it's freezing. I have changed some of my peripherals. I did the funny slash FSC whatever it is plenty of time. SFC scan now I guess. I did a Windows full reset. I checked for malware with Malwarebytes. Okay, well that's, you should have just started with those two. Okay, let me scroll up a little bit here. Other things to mention. The freezes get more frequent as the time goes. If my PC is on for 5 hours straight, it starts getting more frequent. Could be a placebo effect, but after 5 months of those freezes, I'm pretty sure those freezes will make my mouse have a hard time moving around, and typing will stop and still not take input, but will only actually do it once it stops freezing. The freezing also does not happen every time. A beeping noise also does. Okay, the freezing also does a beeping noise, though not every time. It usually happens more when the freeze is long. Okay, what all did you replace? You said you upgraded your RAM and you redid your drivers on everything. Well, this freeze, you were right to replace the RAM. Typically freezes like that are more RAM related, but it should beside you, and it doesn't sound like it is. It sounds like it's just freezing, which makes me think more so graphics. Did he give the specs of his PC? He did not. There's a possibility that he may have an Intel CPU. If he does, then I would say bypass his graphics card to see if that fixes the issue, because he has this problem a lot, and it's consistent. He should be able to recreate it. So what I would do in this particular situation is I would hook up directly to the CPU, depending on if his CPU is Intel. If it is Intel, I will hook directly up to it and play a few games. Of course, don't play anything competitive like, like for keeps, for rank and stuff like that. I wouldn't do anything like that. I would just play like a quick play or a match like that. So and just make like 5 or 10 of them to see if the issue comes back. Because it sounds, if it's not RAM, it's a possibility that it still could be RAM. It could be that your new pair that you swapped out with is also having a problem. But but that's a very, 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 very low percentage. So let's say that it's hardware here. It's a possibility that this could be your graphics card. The only thing that can really do something like that is graphics card or just some type of a memory. But typically, if memory gets too full or if it's having a problem, it'll B-side you for. So versus it just straight up freezing on you. It sounds like you may have a drive that may be corrupted. That's a possibility. Maybe the drive that you're currently using, because you never mentioned that you made any changes to the drive. It's a possibility that the drive you're using is actually just corrupted. In other words, it may have some bad file partitions. He said he did run the disk SFC scan, but he doesn't, whatever it is, plenty of time. Okay, so he said he may have run a check disk, and if he did and it said that everything was fine, then okay. But I would check the disk, so run malware and then the check disk, I forgot what it's called, SF scan whatever, and it'll start saying scan now, and it'll scan your disk for you, and then it will also reload you and scan your disk there. So you can also try that to see if maybe you have a corrupted drive, but it's hard to say on this particular situation because it just kind of looks like hardware. It looks like either a hard drive issue or a graphics card issue or just some type of a memory issue, more so than anything else. And you've already upgraded your motherboard BIOS and everything to the most up-to-date version, yet it's still having this issue. You don't mention exactly what kind of CPU you have. It's a possibility that this could be just an older CPU or an older graphics card, and because of that you're now having problems. But you say SSD, so obviously you have something stronger than like an Intel 4000. But even an Intel 4000 shouldn't have this kind of an issue. So it's a possibility that it can get slower, but to be to a point where it would actually just freeze you, I don't even see that happening even on 4000 series Intel PCs or CPUs. So and then it unfreezes you instead of just B-siding you. So it's kind of an interesting one. You definitely don't have ECC memory. So I would go, in this particular situation, I would go graphics, hard drive, and then memory, and then kind of let us know how that goes, and then just continue from there. Alrighty. That was an interesting one. I hate that it was so technical, but I was trying to, I don't know, I wanted to get to a point where it wasn't super technical, because I don't want to kind of make it seem so difficult that it's hard to even follow. But in this particular situation here, you're just troubleshooting hardware is the way it looks. Alrighty, we're gonna call this one the last one here. This is from Platinum This Face. And this face writes, my latency is unbearable using T-Mobile 5G home internet. Okay, T-Mobile 5G home internet is very flashy. I know it's supposed to be like some of the strongest 5G, but it really kind of depends on where you are and the kind of situation that you're in, because a little bit of metal, or if there's metal within the place, or if somebody's on the signal, or if you're kind of far from the hookup at the pole, then that can change everything. I have been having issues with my internet all summer and recently got 5G home internet with T-Mobile. My main use of internet usage is through games and social media. That's probably not the best thing to do for T-Mobile, just because of the latency. Now, if we're talking about shooters, you typically don't want to run those using a hotspot, mostly because it's wireless, typically. My main use of internet usage is through games and social media. These are my speeds. So your download is 15 megabits per second and your upload is approximately 10 to 15 megabits per second, which is actually pretty good. It's almost fiber level where it's 15 down and 15 up. But 15 down isn't really fast, but it's quite good for 5G. But 5G can get up there. Ping is 130 milliseconds to 300 milliseconds, game over. Game over. This is one of the reasons why I say a 5G hotspot is not a good idea to play video games, only in a pinch. But you don't want to play that game, and I'll explain why here in a little bit. I had this provider for about half a month. I use Ethernet straight to my laptop. My desk is right next to the gateway, and my lowest ever is high 90s on my PS4. Can anyone help with this? No. and I don't mean no because we don't want to help you. I mean no because it's kind of a difficult situation because you're using T-Mobile 5G home internet. So, okay, if it doesn't sound like it's a hotspot, but let's say T-Mobile actually does have home internet services where they hook up through a line, and you're saying you hook up to their router. So basically it's a router that also has, the ability to hook up to their line. Well, you have latency. I don't know the best way to tell you, but that's what you have. You have very, very high latency. You have latency of a phone service. That's what phones do. When you're sitting somewhere between 130 milliseconds to 300 milliseconds and it kind of spikes there. And on top of that, you're showing high 90s on your PS4 for your latency. Okay, now you never mentioned if your PS4 is wired or wireless, so we had to take that into account. But the fact that you're still somewhere between 90 milliseconds is still pretty high, and 130 milliseconds is outrageous. It's enough to make you get your butt kicked. Okay, it won't kick you out of the game, but you will get destroyed. So so yeah, it's kind of an iffy one, man. It's really hard, man. 5G home internet, I don't know enough about T-Mobile's 5G home internet. I thought they just had hotspots. I'm with them, but I just thought they had hotspots. I didn't know they actually had a home internet plan. But if they did, it appears that based on the latency, you may have, okay, let's say it's cable. I know it's not because he said it's 5G, but let's say it's cable. If it was cable, then I would look to maybe having some kind of a water in the line or things of that nature. Or you may have an issue with your TX and RX. In other words, your line may be too hot. So in this particular situation here that he just got set up with T-Mobile, and he's only had it for half a month, he's still within the 30 days of actually getting a refund. So what I would do in this particular situation is have somebody come out and take a look at his line, and then kind of take it from there and basically say, hey, I'm hooked up directly to this and I'm still getting really, really high latency. Can you take a look at it? And if he doesn't want to, or if they want to charge you, then remove all your equipment and get your money back, because you're within 30 days, and because it's T-Mobile, it's more than likely within the United States, and then within the United States you have 30 days prior to buying services, particularly when it comes to cable and internet and stuff like that, to get a refund. So typically they want to help you within that 30 days to try to make sure everything is working, but 130 milliseconds to 300 milliseconds is unacceptable. It's unacceptable for gaming. It's understandable for 5G. I want to make that clear. It's unacceptable for gaming, shooters, because you'll get destroyed. But it's understandable when it comes to just 5G in general. I've had my download speeds anywhere between 15 and 30 and stuff like that, and then I try to connect to my phone and use it for work, and nobody can understand a word I'm saying because I'm dropping packets because my ping starts to spike and change depending on where I am. The closer I am to a store, the better. Alrighty, and that's how I would handle this particular issue, Platinum This face. I would try to get a troubleshoot to try to get somebody out there. You want to act quickly though. You want to make sure you do this before within the 30 days. That way you can get a refund in case this does not go well. Alrighty guys, and we are just got into 8:55 there. We're gonna go ahead and call it here. That was a pretty good one. I mean, we had a pretty good run. Seeing the fact I was kind of going on short notice and trying to scramble, I think it still ended up pretty good here. So it has been a pleasure. Thank you guys so much for watching. And if you like this video, go ahead and like button. If you really like it, I'm going to subscribe. I love you either way. Take care. All the best, and bye.